Hello. Let me get a 5 by 5 if you can hear me. Does everything sound okay? If you can hear me loud and clear, 5 by 5. If it's a little off, 3 by 4, 2 by 4, I don't know. Something. How are we doing? Coffee first, then speak. Thank you for the 5 by 5. Dome Seeker, thank you for being here. Michael G, Teresa Buchanan. Oh, who else we have in here? The Central Scrutinizer. Sorry. Oh, yes, no chicken soup. Sorry. That was a one-off kids video. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Joe Morgan, thanks for being here. James Bullock and Jesse Dallas, what's up? I know, I have been gone for a abnormal amount of time. Uh, Sometimes when your house isn't in order or things get out of order, you need to step back, focus, prioritize what's important in life, what you need to do, focus on that and get it done, get things taken care of. And thanks to our favorite commander in chief and a lot of his policies, my line of work has taken a drastic hit over the past, year, past 8 months, gone quickly and swiftly down the drain. So we're over here trying to do what we can to keep things going. But for all you for being here, let's start talking about tonight's topic. Actually, it's going to be a few topics as usual, but the primary thing is there will, no question, there will be genocide in the United States of America, or whatever they call the United States in that process. Uh, why do I say this? Now, some people are like, "Oh, that'll never happen." Yeah, well, if you think genocide won't happen, Google your nearest Indian reservation, and go there and ask some of the elders or the people if that would ever happen on this continent. I can assure you that if you can find a reservation near you, that anyone you find that lives on said reservation will quickly straighten you out. Okay, because it has happened here with the native tribes. Think about it. When when our ancestors, or even some people who didn't have ancestors who came here at that point in time, but some of the founding fathers' ancestors came to this country. All right. It was wall to wall Native Americans. Millions of natives lived here. Millions. There were hundreds of or thousands of different tribes, from sea to shining sea. Where did they go? That's right. We killed them. Took a while, but we killed most of them. And anybody who says we didn't, or that our ancestors didn't, is just fooling themselves. Yes, I know some came over after the genocides took place and the Trail of Tears and all that. I get it, but you know what I'm talking about. You can understand logically. You should be able to understand what I'm saying is that genocide has already happened on this continent, and why. A lot of people don't understand why. He said, Joe Morgan, hey, my ancestors fought them fair and square. Yes. Okay. Prime example. My family, the Keenans. We are a blood group that is considered part of the original Ohio Valley settlers. All right. When this was the frontier from central West Virginia all the way to the Ohio River. My family was one of the large groups that helped settle this area. I'm pretty certain that if one of my descendants didn't kill an Indian, they knew somebody who did, okay, at some point in history. So, yes, but you fought fair and square. Got it. Here's the point. We wiped out most of the indigenous people. Primarily, the primary reason was they were different. They were different than us. That's what happens when you have two groups that are different. One group eventually wipes out the other group. And if you look at what's happening in this country, we're fast approaching two separate groups going to blows. All right. And when two separate groups go to blows, it's war. All right. And during wars, sometimes genocides happen, especially when one or both sides realize and understand a founding truth that you cannot mix opposites and have peace. You cannot. This whole coexisting, this myth of being able to coexist, has been perpetuated, over the last couple of decades. When I was a child, I never saw a coexist bumper sticker. Didn't, because like seeks like. Whether you agree with it or not, or like it or not, you don't have to. But facts remain the same. Sky's blue, water's wet, grass is green. Yes, Kentucky bluegrass is still technically green. So shush, you Kentucky bluegrass fans. But you get what I'm saying. You cannot have mixed oil and water. You can temporarily, but it will separate, and it's not good for either. And when one of the two, or both groups decides, oh, well, you know what? We can't coexist with them, so we have to remove them. They won't leave on their own free will, so we'll just remove them by force. That is when genocide takes place, because normally you'll have groups of those other people that one group wants to leave that says, we're not leaving. And so the other group logically comes to the consensus that, well, we'll just have to eliminate them all. And that's what happens. It happens all the time in Africa to this day. All right. It happens in the Middle East. It's happened in Asia. It's happened in Europe. It has happened here in the past, the distant past. And like they say, history might not repeat itself, but it rhymes like a mother. Okay. So there's that. It's happening in South Africa right now, Jesse Dallas. Yes, it does. They're having a bunch of problems. I have quite a bit of South African friends, and they are perpetually worried about family members and loved ones that are over there. Let me look in the chat real quick. It's happening in South America right now. Or yeah, you said South America. Well, South Africa too. Pardon me, South Africa. But yeah, South America. People forget conflict is the natural order of man. That's true. Let me see what Teresa just put in here. I'm finding them thunderstorms. Oh, you're talking about thunderstorms in the thread. Okay, that's cool. Whatever you want to talk about, it's your thread. But how I see things going on, there's been a lot of talk lately about Vladimir Putin wanting to rebuild the USSR. And it got me thinking, why did the USSR, which was basically the European version of the United States, think about it, that's what it was. It's a bunch of small satellite states that all said, well, we're better off if we fly under one flag and we agree to go follow the same type of rules. We'll all have the same elections. And it was their version of us. Okay. It was. And then enough of them decided that they wanted to be independent, and things just kind of fell apart over a period of time. And that is what could happen here. For example, the largest state over there was Russia. It's still the largest state. And you have a lot of smaller states, okay, that grouped onto Russia, the big dog, and they became the USSR. Right now, we have, continentally speaking, Texas, very large state, quite capable of being independent, own power grid, airports, fuel supply, own army. If you look at the National Guard, that's a state's private army. All of our states are set up just like all the Soviet states were. So for one person to say, well, the U.S. would never fall apart, it makes about as much sense as saying the USSR would never fall apart. It just takes the right set of circumstances for it to do so. Now, a big factor in the USSR falling apart, and this all ties into the conversation of tonight, is yes, Russian economy is now the largest in Europe. Isn't that interesting? But this all ties back into the genocide, because once the people realize that they want independence, all right, first there'll be violence here, because the only way for individual states to be like, oh well, we want to be independent, is to take control of the rest of the territories in their states. Now, if you live in a state, and most of us understand that most states are red with blue cities. So if you take that into account, any state could be turned red. All right. All it means is you have a bunch of oil, which is dirtying up the cities, and a bunch of water that is tired of being mixed in with the bunch. Okay. Texas, Ohio, West Virginia tends to float back and forth sometimes. But once all of the people in all the red, all the conservatives, when we boil it down to two basic factors, the next split will be, unfortunately, God-fearing and those that aren't. All right. You can see it in our society. You can see the way things are going. You watch the news. Just look at your local newspaper. Look at your local news on Facebook. However you get your news, look at it. Most of the problems in society are typically from people who lack faith of a higher power, regardless of what the higher power may be. They just don't have it. And when enough of the people who have faith in a higher power, especially the top three, I've given them to you before, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, when the top three in this country decide to get back to their biblical religious roots and say, you know what, it's time for these people to go, and they rain enough hell upon the blue people, the red people will just take over and they push the blue people out. And then you'll start having that call for separation, to break apart the big government, to break apart our version of the USSR, which is now known as the USA. All right. From that, then potentially after a big war, you could if the red guys win, you could rebuild under the old Constitution, straighten everything out, get things back to how they were meant to be. And if you lose, well, it's basically hell on earth. Robert Winslow says, not unfortunate, let the Crusades begin. Yes. I mean, Afghanistan, I can always go back to that. You know, we had a bunch of people from the USA that went over and tried to implement all kind of gender studies programs in their colleges and raise pride flags and all these other things. And eventually all the people were like, you know what? No, we're just going to put heads on pikes. And there's that. And now Afghanistan's back to pretty much the way it was. And it's despite your local news, despite the fear mongering from the big media conglomerates and the State Department stuff, I would feel safe with my children in a place like that. Yes, it's not all Rocky Horror Picture Show shit. It's just the way it is. It's facts. But they don't like that. So, disclaimer, this is all a work of fiction. You like my disclaimers. I always used to do them. This is art. This is my way of venting. All right. This is therapy for me. If you deem it real, then it is, but I don't. It's all just a show, right? Right. Okay. John, we'll leave it to John. If you're watching or you catch the replay, John, caught your show this morning, liked it. John will tell you, do things legally. Always do things legally. You won't hear me say that shit because that's, no offense to John, that's dumb shit. All right. The founding fathers didn't give a shit about legality. All right. They didn't. Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, they didn't give a shit about legality. The things they did were illegal, whether it be peaceful or non peaceful. The only way to affect change in your society is by breaking the rules, okay? Busting the laws. You can't play by the laws that your enemy creates. Hmm? Think about it. That's dumb shit. If you want to sit there and say, well, we have to do this legally because the very people we're trying to fight said we can't do it that way, so we have to do it this way. That's dumb. AF. Okay. See, I'm trying to clean up my language here. Huh? I'm gonna hop in the chat real quick. Let me take a look. When drinking with an Iraqi once, dude was a savage, got kicked out of a lot of bars, but he grilled a mean kebab. Yes, tikka, the kebabs. Oh, dude, fire. I miss Afghani food. I do. And shawarmas. Shawarmas are awesome, especially with the little fries in them. Um, Robert Winslow, you love fiction. Awesome. Allegedly, speculation, opinion, figuratively, legal disclaimer stuff triggered. Awesome, Keister Bunny. That's a funny name too, Keister Bunny. How you doing? No, um, just kidding. Joe doesn't pull punches. I tell everyone, become ungovernable. Yes, become ungovernable. Think about it. Everything, literally, the things Martin Luther King Jr. did were illegal at the time. All right. The things Gandhi did were illegal. All right. The things our founding fathers did were illegal. You cannot fight a legal system, all right, by their own rules. You have to break their rules. Don't Angel will get you. Yeah. I'll walk her to death on a trail again, like the death march I took her on yesterday. It was great. Oh man, that hike was awesome. Love getting out in the woods. It's just brings you down to earth. I think I said my next trail that I go out on sometime this week, I'm going to go. It's going to be a barefoot hike. So just out in nature. Hopefully don't get anything jabbed in my feet or anything stuck to them, sucking my blood out, but we'll find out. Anyway, yes, you can't follow the rules. You got to bust them every way you can. So when I say that, prime example, it was talked about today on Prepper Nation. Shout out to Prepper Nation, awesome channel. I'm sure you're a subscriber. If you're here, you're there. But I digress. Now, John said a couple dozen people decided to create a bill that, if passed into law, would do this about firearms or that, this, that, and the other. You have to decide. You have to understand, one, what the cost of freedom is. The cost of freedom is blood. It's either your blood, your children's blood, or your enemy's blood. That's the price. Blood is always the price. Blood and pain are always the price of freedom. So, that being said, you can either take the fight up yourself, or you can leave it up to your children or your grandchildren. But the fight's coming. The blood will be spilled. Now, the goal of a soldier is not to die for his country, it's to make his enemy die for his. Remember that. But these people that made this bill, why do citizens, patriots, sit by and wait for this bill to be voted on, when in reality they should be rounding up these people, dragging them from their homes, and making examples of them? No, I'm not saying bloodletting them or killing them, but you give a good caning to a guy's bare ass while he's strapped to a tree or a fence, and let him know, we're not going to take this bullshit anymore. You film it, you put it all over YouTube. It'll make an example, okay, that you're not going to take this shit anymore. Now, is there a risk to that? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, the cost of freedom is blood. Always has been, always will be. Got to be able to take the, take the fight to them, because if not, they will bring it to you. It's just a matter of time. If they don't bring it to you, they'll bring it to your children. But I've said time and time again, we shouldn't, as a society, have a system where all these Joe Schmoes can vote laws that are unconstitutional in, and then it costs hundreds of millions to get them into Congress, or hundreds of millions to get them to the Supreme Court, and say, oh, and then 9 people sit back and say, well, that's unconstitutional, so it shouldn't have ever existed, so we're going to strike it down. But there's nothing ever going to happen to anybody. One way to fix that would be, if a law is found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, like any laws over the past year that have been found unconstitutional, if you know a sheriff, or if a sheriff is watching this, an elected sheriff, find out who sponsored that law in the beginning. And when they pass through your jurisdiction, seize them for treason. If you attack the Constitution and the Supreme Court has declared that your law was unconstitutional, you by proxy attack the Constitution, you have committed an act of treason, right? So you seize them and let the world know why. Start making an example of these people. Let me look down here in the thread real quick. I'm old enough that my kids have grandkids will fight next to me so that their kids will have a good life. Good. Lock them up, Dan says. Yep. Look for power with talc, not cornstarch. If it's for kidding with me. I don't even know what you're talking about, Joe, but okay. Yes, Robert Winslow. You cut a viper's tongue off, and that's it. Red Dawn Ready, Army of North Virginia. Yes, tree honey cuts, a chainsaw ready. I don't know what you're talking about. The feds are already turning on each other. Well, it needs to happen faster. And, all of our institutions have already been corrupted. We all know this. We know this. So at this point, we're just waiting for things to start falling apart. All right. But you have to do the stuff at the local level too. All right. If you have city council members that are passing some bullshit, all right, try talking first. Go to your city council meetings and say, we don't like this shit. And then if they continue, go to their homes. Go to their homes. Yell, make noise, let them know that you know where they live. All right. And then proceed as necessary. Okay. I'm not saying put heads on pikes. I would never. Well, yes, I have, in fact, in the past have said put heads on pikes, but not about this. But I mean, I guess if it fucking works in other countries, get shit done. Treason is the reason for the season. There it goes, that dynamite. Were y'all wondering how long it would be until I start talking about heads on pikes? Is that what, Dome Seeker? Is that what you were talking about? Joe Burns says, I'll say it, you don't have to. Yes. Like I said, I don't trust the government because I was the government and I've seen how corrupt things can get. I've seen shady deals made with shady people that we shouldn't have been talking to in the first place. But 'tis life. And it goes on. Well, remember, take the fight to the enemy before they bring it to you. All right. Most of the time, he who strikes first wins. That's a fact. Hit them first and hit them hard. From the local level to the top level, whatever. Be like Santa Claus and make a list and check it twice. And do what you got to do. Handle your business. Wish I could stay on here longer. Been on for 24 minutes. I know I haven't been here for a while. But what's going on there, Dynamite? No, she was having issues approving my comment. Okay. Yes, Dynamite's comments are always approved. That's by proxy. The road to serfdom. Breaking of oath should be a death sentence, in my opinion. Well, there you go. They may get fired, get a serving. Yep. Santa. Making a list, taking Santa. The creature from mythology that was the the good and the Krampus was the bad. It's time to be the Krampus. It's time to grab little politicians out of their fucking houses and whack them with sticks and shove them in a sack. I'm not saying throw them in a river like a bag full of cats, but I mean, whatever works. You know, what do you call 100,000 politicians at the bottom of the ocean? A damn good start. Ha! See, dad joke. All right. All right. Oh, Chewbacca's in the house. Love you, baby girl. You keep calling me that, and I'm going to start posting some of those pictures on the Prepper Nation Facebook page that you send me when you FaceTime me and from the shitter, and I screenshot real quick just to fuck with you, just to mess with you. Yeah. So keep it up. Don't poke the bear. Still love you though, brother. And Dibs, he knows what I'm talking about. Well, right now his face just went stone cold. All right. Thank you all for being here. Have a good night. God bless. To my baby sharks, Daddy will see you tomorrow. We're going to go on some adventures this week. And I promise, I will get back on here and do another live. I'm going to shoot for Sunday. All right. But we'll see if the people in black suits don't come knocking on the door. I mean, come on. They've already admitted there's freaking aliens. So there are men in black suits too. Fucking neuralize me and shit. All right. Have a good night. God bless. I love all of you. And keep being ungovernable. I'm out.